Hello everyone, my name is Constantino Tamari, and welcome back to One Human, One Story, the club where we go beyond titles and headlines to explore the real journeys behind leadership, resilience, and decision making. Today's conversation is about something we often hear about, but rarely truly understand: what it means to stand by your principles when the cost is personal. Our guest today has lived that reality. From growing up in a modest farming family in Burundi, to pursuing science and earning a PhD, to eventually stepping into some of the highest levels of political leadership as second vice president, his path is truly remarkable. But what makes his story truly powerful is not just the rise, it's the moment of choice. In 2015, during a major political crisis, he chose to oppose a controversial decision at the highest level of government, knowing it could cost him everything. That decision led him into exile, before eventually returning years later. So today, we're not just talking about politics. We're talking about courage, resilience, and what it truly means to lead with conviction. Dr. Gervais Rufyikiri, thank you so much for joining us. It's a privilege to have you on One Human, One Story.
Thank you very much, Constantine, for inviting me.
All right, so let's get on to the questions. Once more, Mr. Rufyikiri, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and we're very happy to welcome you here. So, let's talk about your origins and childhood. Before politics and public life, can you take us back to your childhood in Burundi? More specifically, what kind of a young boy was Gervais Rufyikiri? And can you describe the environment you grew up in?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. When I was a child, I was an ordinary child like everyone. I was born in a modest family, farmers, and my parents gave me high standards of the future. First, they engaged me to school, while neighborhoods thought that studying was not necessary. And I could remember that when I was around 4 and 5 years, my mom, who knows to write, taught me to write with local material on sand. And my father, who never know to write, had a stick. If I made a mistake, he could hit me with the stick. Mm-hmm. So, not to harm, not to do something bad for me, but to help me to really shape the future, because they wanted me to study, to be an intellectual, as they thought. And when I went to school, until the secondary school, I had no shoes. And I had to make, in the morning, 6 kilometers, in the afternoon, 6 kilometers by foot, without shoes, because we don't have a means to buy shoes at that moment. But all these efforts, studying in a, we can say, difficult condition, but at our time, I can't imagine that it was difficult to walk without shoes, because it was almost all people in the rural areas walked without shoes. So it is normal, it's our normal life. But the effort I made helped me to go from primary school to secondary school and the university, and thereafter to occupy some responsibilities, including high-level responsibilities in the Senate as a president of Senate, and in executive power as a vice president coordinating economic and social affairs. So it was a long journey. Yeah.
See. Mm-hmm. What would you say helped you stay so disciplined during this journey?
Yeah, the discipline comes from two things. First, my genetic. All people, we are different, and our behavior are different because our genetics. Second, we are what we've learned to be. My parents helped me to be disciplined, and because I was the first born in my family, so they paid a lot of attention on me to be straight in all things I was doing. And also at the school, I had a chance to have a great teacher, who helped me also to have a discipline. Being at primary school, secondary school, I was educated in a seminary, which is a Catholic school. There the education was also very strict, and from my behavior coming from my parents and from the school helped me also thereafter when I was flying by my own wings, so to keep my discipline, being during the studies and in the life after studies.
Thank you for sharing these memories. Would you say, as a child, what did you dream about for your future? Did you always know that you wanted to pursue education?
When I was still at primary school, my dream was to be a priest.
Really?
Yeah, because in our region, almost only priests had vehicles. So it was our dreams to have such education, so that you can also to be extracted from the common life of people and have something which is very important, like a vehicle. And it is why maybe I went to the seminary in the secondary school, but when I grew up, so I could also think differently, and to see that maybe to be priest was not the only way to serve people, to be at the service of people. It is why I studied other things than studies to leading to be priest.
Interesting. Thank you. So, commenting on that, you later studied abroad and earned a PhD from Université de Louvain in Belgium. So, because science it's pretty different to what you wanted to do. So, what drew you to science, and what was it like to live abroad for so long?
Yeah, during particularly my secondary school, there I could consider that I was strong in sciences than in art studies. This helped me after the secondary school to choose. Even during the secondary school, after the first part of secondary school, my choice was scientific studies, because I was happy. It was easy for me to study sciences than to read books, literature, and at university was next step following what I did in the secondary school. I continued in that field of sciences. When my choices at university was first was medicine, to be a doctor, but chance to have such school was not was very low. And my secondary school was agricultural sciences, and I had that field of agricultural sciences, which was also very good for me. And thereafter, I continued in that field at in Louvain-la-Neuve, in Catholic University of Louvain. I had a small focus, a small branch of agricultural sciences, which was a soil sciences specialist. but applied to plant nutrition. Yeah, always in the sciences.
That's interesting. Because in your opinion, would you say that people are born with a choice, with a preference for example, literature or science, or is that more shaped by their environment and their childhood?
But from my experience and what I observed with my classmates during particularly the secondary school, and I can say that, as I mentioned, our character comes first from our genetics, and potential characters can be expressed through education. Education can help to ignite some character which are hidden. From my experience, I can't say that science was my choice. No, I had no other choice. Oh. No, I had no other choice because I was null. I was incompetent in literature. But in the sciences, I made little effort to succeed. So I understood that my field was the sciences. I had no other choice.
All right, it's very interesting. Now, your initial field of research was agriculture and environment, which is pretty far from politics. Now, what did science teach you that politics did not?
Science teach me in politics is the behavior of a politician should be straight. 1 + 1 = 2. And there are no other discussion. But in politics, it is the art of arguments. As people can look at a black sheet paper and say that this sheet paper is white. This is politics. Sometimes the art of lying. But for me, what science taught me in politics is to be correct, to be honest. And this was my behavior during when I was occupying responsibilities. I was straight, and my leadership helped me to achieve good results because of my character coming from my education. Yeah, it is not only sciences, but it is also the values learned from my parents, values learned from my schools, and my own character. Yeah.
I see. Thank you for your answer. Did your scientific background influence the way you approached political decision making and leadership?
Yes, I can say yes. First, what you are learning is one thing. What you will do after is another thing. They can be quite different. Politics is not only for people who study or who have studied political sciences. No. Because when you are studying, particularly leading to PhD, for example, you learn to think. And you learn also to talk, but particularly you learn to base your arguments on facts. And these are essential in politics also. In politics, you have to consider the facts and to think what to do. This is something you've learned in your studies, whatever the discipline you've followed in studies.
Thank you. When did you first begin to think about moving towards public life and serving your country? Would you say it was more vocation, or more force of circumstance?
But no, it was not a vocation, because I grew up in a country which was turbulent with the crisis. Crisis started in the post-independent period in the 1960s, and up to today it is up and downs, up, downs, up, downs. When I studied, I wanted to be a professional in techniques. Being teaching with my PhD, I could be a good teacher at universities, or doing research, or be a civil servant in any other responsibilities. However, particularly during the Civil War of 1993, which lasted more than 10 years, many people died during the crisis. Others were forced to exile. And during the crisis, my country lost capacities to train people. So me, I had a chance because I did my master's degree and my PhD thesis during the crisis in Burundi. So I was among a few people who succeeded to continue the education at higher level. In 2000, there were ceasefire agreement signed under the leadership of Nelson Mandela, former president of South Africa. And the implementation of ceasefire started in 2004. So that period, my heart told me to go back in my country to contribute to the reconstruction of my country. Because when I studied, and when also I went to school, to higher education in Belgium, it because of the support of my country. So it was my duty also to contribute to the reconstruction after the 10 years of war. And I was optimistic because I thought that everyone was tired with the more than 10 years of war, and I thought that people were committed really to peace. So I decided to go back to help the reconstruction without any ambition in politics. Not only to bring my knowledge and my capacities to the service of the country. But when I arrived in Burundi in 2004, first elections, post-conflict elections was organized in 2005. So I was asked to be on the list of senators by the CNDD-FDD political party. What I agreed. After elections, I was elected senator, and thereafter they asked me to be the candidature, to give the candidature as president of Senate. I was a unique candidate, and I was elected president of Senate, a mandate I achieved in 2010. And thereafter, I was asked by the incumbent president to be his vice president for the next 5 years to coordinate economic and social affairs. I've never fought for any post in politics, but I was asked by Burundians to occupy those responsibilities, yeah. And which I did technically.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how did you feel when you were appointed vice president? I mean, did you ever imagine as a kid that you were going to become the vice president of your country?
No, never. Never. It was first being president of Senate. It was my first stress because I jumped from nowhere to the post of president of Senate without any intermediate positions in politics in Burundi, because I finished the university in Burundi in 1992. I worked as an assistant at university for 2 years, and there I went to Belgium for master's degree and a PhD thesis. After I worked as a researcher in Belgium, but never in politics. And in 2005, So I was elected president of Senate, a new chamber. And I had no one to ask how to organize the chamber. So I had to use my brain to shape the trajectory of the Senate. When I started in 2005, the Senate was not known among Burundians. But after my 5 years, the Burundians knew better Senate than the National Assembly, which existed a long time ago, because of activities organized for the Senate to help particularly the districts and the commune to stabilize and to promote the development. There are people who are in politics because it is ambition to be politician, but it was not my case. My case was to be a good technician, but because maybe for my behavior, my capacity, I was asked by others to occupy political positions.
Thank you. It must have been overwhelming at first, right? Like being presented such a hard challenge with not much political background. Would you say there's any advice you would like to give people? I mean, they're probably not facing as hard challenges, but even hard challenges in their day-to-day life.
But the first to succeed, I can say, remember the question you asked me, how education science can help to be in politics. For example, to organize my Senate, as from my background, academic background, I was a researcher. So I used this capacity also to organize my Senate. So I went on Google to find how other parliamentary bodies are organized, particularly senates. What are the activities, how they organize themselves. And this helped me to find relevant information and to adapt them to the reality of Burundi. This is why the Senate have made a higher success story than the National Assembly, because maybe my capacity to imagine and to inspire my colleagues, senators, and also to better organize the Senate. The challenges, I met many challenges also. First was being a leader in a poor country. You have ambitions, you would like to achieve some result, but you don't have means being material or money to do what you would like to do. This was the big challenge, which is common in all developing countries, particularly in a post-conflict country like the time I was leading the country. The second challenge was to make the Senate a body really implementing or promoting peace and stability. Burundi was a post-conflict country, which was not, and the country had not, was struggling to exit from conflict. They were still a fighting movement. And also some members of the ruling party, particularly former fighters, had not separated themselves from the wartime characters, the wartime behavior. So the challenge was how the Senate could really control that there are no killings committed by governmental bodies such as police or army or National Service of Intelligence, and also how the Senate could help that there are no practices of corruption, which corruption was committed mainly by those who occupy also higher responsibilities, being in the army, or in police, or in the executive. All these were challenges. And the other challenges was also how to protect and promote human rights and the protection of rights of people in such post-conflict conditions. These were the main challenges I faced too. But I didn't give up, although I struggled with these problems, because I hope that I could continue contribute, particularly to elaborate good standards or laws and regulations respecting international standards, and also contributing in the trainings from different services. And I expected that with time, maybe former fighters could change their behavior, and they could also be submitted under the law. This was my hope. It is why, although there were challenges, I continued my job.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So what would you say was the main priority in the Senate trying to build a functional parliament after the war?
Priorities in the Senate are dictated on the main functions of this institutional body. The first function is to control the budget, to approve and control the budget. And the second responsibility is to control the executive power if they are respecting the law. And the second is to represent the population. But as the senators are not elected directly by the population, what I could say, the population could be particularly these members of communal councils, because they are electors of the senators. So my priority was when it was a time to approve the budget, to control that what is providing the document of the budget represents the interest of the population. Second, during the remaining time of the year, to control if the budget is executed correctly. My second priority was also to control if members of the executive power, being ministers, are carrying out their duties correctly in the respect of the law and the respect of the interest of the population through questions asked to them. Regularly we invited the ministers when they had a question to ask. And the third was to organize regularly meetings between senators and the electors, so the members of communal councils. Because also at that time, in 2005, the country started a new politics in local administration, decentralization. And their members of communal council were lost. They didn't know their responsibilities. So we helped them to teach them or to discuss with them about their challenges and to give recommendations of what they could do, which helped also the stability of local administrations. These were my priorities.
Thanks, Sasi. Let's talk a bit about the achievements of your career, because I think there's a lot. What would you say? Would you say that since Burundi's system was designed about power sharing, right? Do you believe that it succeeded?
Yeah, power sharing is a kind of politics which can help social divide countries where people are split into different parts, being from ethnic divisions or regional divisions or political divisions. power sharing can help the country to lead to the stabilization. Burundi was a country which suffered, particularly since the post-independent period, from ethnic divisions, which led to mass killings, particularly in 1972, but also in 1993, this 10 years long civil war. So power sharing was imagined for Burundi, as it has been experienced in different other post-conflict countries, to help peaceful cohabitation between the main component of the population of Burundi. It provided that, for example, the winner, which is the ruling party, have to share the power with minority parties. The main ethnic group have to share the power with the minority ethnic groups. Also, men have to share responsibilities with the women, the gender issue. And also to pay attention that no one region is excluded. This on paper was very good to help people to live peacefully and to share their responsibilities when leading the country. Unfortunately, the implementation has failed. Has failed because of the behavior of some top leaders. Some top leaders who put forward the interest of their own groups, former fighters, or the interest of their own groups, the ethnic groups. So instead of power sharing, they remain up to date committed to the sharing of positions, not of the power. This is different. Position means that they respect the ethnic quotas, for example, which is 60% for Hutu and 40% for the minority Tutsi in higher positions. But in the spirit of the power sharing, it was that all these components have equal power in decision making. However, the ruling party or the main ethnic group have succeeded to take the responsibility for the power and to nominate individuals from ethnic groups or other groups only for the position without power. They have no word to say about politics, but they can occupy the responsibility, be paid, but without any influence in politics. This is what I can say, a sharing of positions, not sharing of power. And unfortunately, this led to the instability also, because grievances, for example, the crisis of 2015, it is because there are no considerations of point of view of all parties. Only one man or one group think for all. And unfortunately, this led to grievances and the crisis.
Yeah. Could you tell us more about the crisis of 2015?
Yeah, the crisis of 2015 is an institutional crisis, as the trigger was the violation of the Constitution and violation of peace agreement signed in 2000 to end the civil war by the incumbent president. The President Pierre Nkurunziza was elected for the first time in 2005 for 5 years, and he was re-elected in 2010 for other 5 years. And the Constitution or the Arusha Agreement stated that no one could run more than 2 presidential terms in office. So the England president managed to change the constitution in 2013, but he failed because the parliament rejected amendments instead of approval. So he decided to run for a third term by forcing in violation of the constitution. And his interpretation was that forget the first mandate because I was not elected by the whole people, I was elected by the parliament. In fact, the first post-elections, because the country was still unstable, was indirect elections. People elected members of the parliament, senators, and members of National Assembly, and this together elected the president. And he said, no, the first mandate, it is not my first mandate, it is one from 2010 where I was elected by the full population. But all considered that this was dishonest from his part. So he decided to go by forcing. What he did, and the opposition and the other civil society members stood up to say no to the third term, including also some members of his ruling party, including myself. I was among those people who considered the first term in violation of the constitution was awful, was something which was very bad for the present and for the future of the country. Unfortunately, he succeeded to have support of some most influential members of the security bodies, and he ran the third term, while opposition and other members started to oppose this third term, which resulted in two crashes, armed conflicts, and many killings that were qualified by United Nations Human Rights Council as crimes against humanity in Burundi. It was qualified as crimes against humanity, which is very, very bad. Yeah. This is the crisis of 2013.
All right, thank you. Because you publicly opposed that decision, meaning that you risked your position and your safety. Did you ever hesitate before taking a stand against this dishonesty?
I can say that this was my toughest dilemma. And a dilemma is a situation there is no single right answer, no single wrong answer. And in a dilemma, particularly in such circumstances, you have no time to lose thinking. You have to think very quickly and to decide quickly. The dilemma was that supporting the president in his violation of constitution had advantages. The advantage was I could keep good wealth conditions, to keep my positions. But the bad side that it was harmful to my ethical values, my integrity. Opposing the president has also advantages and inconveniences. The advantages is that I kept my integrity, my standard, my value standards, particularly my ethical values, the respect of the law. But the advantage is that the risk of losing the position, risk of imprisonment, risk of exile, risk of death. In developing country, when you describe with your president why you occupy such high positions, you know that they are, you have to choose. Either go underground when you are dead, or flee to exile, or in prison. You don't have too many choices. So I didn't think a lot, because for me, violation of constitution by the one who is supposed to protect the law, particularly the president, was a red line for me. I have tolerated many challenges, being corruption, some killings, some torture, some unlawful imprisonment of people, and so on. But I expected that there could be improvement with time. But when I saw that the president himself was not respecting the law, particularly the highest level of law, the constitution, I thought it is a red line, and I decided that I cannot support him. Yeah. And I accepted all consequences. One day, when the crisis started, he invited me in his office to ask me if I can change my position. I told him, Mr. President, violation of constitution is very bad for the country, very bad for yourself, very bad for the people. I will never support that. And he told me, okay, think about all consequences, particularly the loss of your friends from the party and so on. I told him, Mr. President, I am prepared for whatever can happen about my decision. I will never support the violation of the constitution. It was the first time we discussed face to face. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he told me, okay, goodbye. And we separated from his office. So, and at the time he asked the most influential generals to choose another candidate to replace me. And these generals, after told him, Mr. President, you will never succeed to replace him, because we made some we said to have opinion of members of parliament who have to approve the one who will succeed him. No one will accept to vote for the one to succeed him. So you will never succeed. And it is why he never said to remove me from the position until I resigned in June, in the mid of June. Yeah.
That's extremely brave.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So, with your experience on Burundi, what is the biggest challenge that Burundi must address in the coming decade?
The problem of leadership. Yeah, this is the biggest problem Burundi is facing to effective or ethical leadership. It is not only Burundi. When talking about all these developing countries who struggled in poverty, why they have natural resources, the problem is not lack of resources, not lack of people, but the problem of leadership. Yeah, leadership. And since the independence, Burundi had never had chance to have an effective leadership who can reconcile the all components of population, or who can engage the people towards development activities. Unfortunately, leaders have particularly themselves engaged into bad practices such as corruption, grand corruption, and from their behavior, they are not able to fight against the corruption among those subordinates. The second thing is that because of this bad leadership and their grievances, So they use force to maintain their powers. And this lead to mass killings, to violation of human rights, and also particularly to the restrictions of political rights, particularly the restrictions of the functioning of opposition political parties or civil society. And in the absence of an effective leadership, the country is not able to mobilize internal resources for the development, and the leadership is not able to mobilize foreign investments to contribute in the development activities. So the main problem Burundi is facing too is the problem of leadership.
Thank you. Following up on that, for you, what makes a good leader?
A good leader is someone who is committed first to be at the service of the population, not to occupy the position for his own interest. So a good leader will know how to manage the society, particularly to give responsibilities and inspire the collaborators. Because a good leader maybe is informed about many things, so have to help the collaborators to be focused. So the good leader also will be the one who is able to gather all the people towards a common direction, while he will recognize that there can be different initiatives. These different initiatives can translate into the existence of multi-party systems. Multi-party system meaning that there are different initiatives, different perspectives, different views of what could be done. And the good leader will help all these divergent ideas to converge into the common objective to be at the service of the country.
All right, thank you. Now, finally, before we conclude, how did Switzerland welcome you?
Yeah, when I left the politics in Burundi in 2015, first of all, I arrived in Belgium, where I spent 2 years carrying out research at the University of Antwerp in politics. And thereafter, I moved here in Geneva in January 2017. So I can say that the one characteristics was my capacity to adapt. Yeah. Not all can leave such high political positions and adapt in other kind of activities, being research, being any other economic activities. I had discovered, meaning that to keep your feet on the ground, although we are at higher positions. And being in Belgium or here in Switzerland, I can say there I was welcomed, and the two countries gave me the space to be imaginative and to think about what kind of different life I can organize for myself. In Belgium as a researcher, here also in Switzerland as I teach at different universities here in Geneva, particularly at Webster University and at Swiss AMF University. I contribute to executive education at Geneva Center for Security Policy, also sharing my political experience with the participants in different courses. What I appreciate, particularly here in Switzerland, is a safe country. The city of Geneva, it is safe, and you can organize yourself and shape your future freely.
Thank you. Following up on that, what does Switzerland mean to you personally?
Switzerland, I can say, being Belgium, being Switzerland, they are my second motherland. Because my first motherland is Burundi, but here I find means to live with dignity, which I appreciate too much here in Switzerland. So Switzerland for me, above my personal life, I can consider Switzerland as an inspiring model, maybe in politics. While in many societies there are a problem of peaceful cohabitation between components of population, such as in Burundi, this crisis of cohabitation of ethnic groups. Here in Switzerland, there are a lot to learn how different communities can organize themselves and live peacefully, where the differences can be a strength instead of being a weakness. Here it is the case of Switzerland.
That's true. Thank you very much for all your answers and your time. I'll pass it on to Coco and he'll finish up.
Dr. Rufyikiri, thank you again for sharing your story with such honesty. What stands out is that your journey isn't just about reaching positions of power. It's about what you choose to do when you're there. From your early beginnings to leadership to exile and back again, your story shows that resilience is not just about overcoming challenges, but about staying true to your values, even when it's difficult. And I think that's something everyone watching and listening today can take with them. Thank you for being a part of One Human One Story and for reminding us that where you start doesn't define where you can go, but your choices define who you become. Thank you.